Hello, welcome to Recap Rhapsody. Today, I will show you a psychological thriller film, Stoker. Spoiler, and may containing violent contents. Please consider before viewing. On her 18th birthday, India Stoker, a girl with a strong acuteness of the senses, is left with her unstable mother, Evelyn, after her loving father, Richard, dies in a car crash. At the funeral, India and her mother, Evelyn, meet Richard's charismatic younger brother, Charlie, someone who they never heard of. Apparently, Charlie has been traveling around the world most of his life. During a brief interaction with India, Charlie informs his niece that he's going to stay in the house for a while to help support India and Evelyn, to Evelyn's delight and India's chagrin. After a heated argument with Charlie, Mrs. McGarrick, the housekeeper, disappears without notice. During his stay, Richard's brother tries to befriend Evelyn and India. Although Charlie's charms work perfectly on the mother, the daughter is still not very fond of him. Meanwhile, the Stokers have another visitor, Aunt Gwendolyn, who came to visit India and Evelyn. During her visit, Gwendolyn seems to be very wary of Charlie's presence. Later that night, Gwendolyn reaches out to Evelyn and tells her that they need to have a discussion about Charlie. However, Evelyn doesn't like Gwendolyn's insistence and shuts her off. When Gwendolyn was about to leave the Stokers' house, she gives India her number. As a safety measure, Gwendolyn changes hotels. Right when Gwendolyn was about to call Evelyn, she realizes that her phone is not around. Unable to make calls from her motel room, Gwendolyn goes outside to use a phone booth. Out of nowhere, Charlie appears and strangles his aunt with a belt. Meanwhile, India finds Mrs. McGarrick's body inside the basement's freezer while she was looking for some ice cream. Despite of the horrific finding, but India does not tell anyone about it. While leaving the school, one of India's classmates, Chris, decides to taunt her. Enraged, India confronts her bully and stabs him with a pencil. Meanwhile, another classmate, Whip, steps in and tells the others to leave India alone. At home, India catches Charlie and her mother talking in an intimate manner. Displeased with what she saw, India wanders into the woods and runs into Whip. They make out, but India gets too excited and bites Whip's tongue. The boy interprets India's behavior as a sexual advance and decides to force himself on her. Right when Whip was on top of India, Charlie appears and strangles the boy with his belt. Uncle and niece carry Whip's body back to their own propriety. While Charlie was digging a hole, India decides to call Gwendolyn. After that, she hears the woman's phone ringing. In the garden, India realizes that Charlie killed Gwendolyn, too. After burying Whip's body, India takes a shower. She masturbates to the memory of the murder, climaxing as she remembers Charlie breaking Whip's neck. When India was going through her father's belongings in the office, she stumbles upon a locked drawer. India finds out that Charlie has been writing to her over the years. In those letters, her uncle details his travels and expresses his love for India, the niece that he hasn't met yet. These revelations bring India to tears, but then she realizes that Charlie has been writing to her from a mental institution. Upon these findings, India goes to Charlie to confront him about these letters, and Charlie explains the truth. Charlie killed his younger brother, Jonathan, as a child by burying him alive in a sandbox because he was jealous that Richard paid more attention to him. At the time, Charlie blamed Richard for paying more attention to their younger sibling than him. After the incident, the family sent Charlie to a mental institution where he spent most of his life. When Charlie got out, Richard gave his younger brother some money and advised him to move to New York and stay away from his family. Enraged, Charlie beat Richard to death with a rock and stages a car accident. When India sees her uncle wearing her father's sunglasses, she realizes that Charlie killed her father. As India threatens Charlie to leave the house, the man tries to defuse the situation by saying that he has come back for her and gifts India a pair of stiletto heels. Meanwhile, Sheriff Howard appears at the Stoker's house, asking questions about Whip's disappearance. Charlie covers for India by giving her a false alibi. The sheriff is still suspicious of India and Charlie, but decides to leave them. Knowing that Sheriff Howard is on to them, Charlie asks India to move to New York with him. Meanwhile, Evelyn catches her daughter and Charlie in an intimate moment. Shocked, Evelyn excuses herself and leaves the room. During a mother and daughter talk, Evelyn expresses her desire to watch India suffer. Aware that there's something going between India and Charlie, Evelyn summons Charlie to her bedroom. Then, India's mother confronts Charlie about his past and Richard's death. After seducing Evelyn, Charlie tries to strangle her to death with his belt. However, India stops him by shooting him with a rifle. After burying her uncle in the backyard, India leaves the house and drives away with Charlie's car. While driving away from home, India encounters Sheriff Howard, who tells her to pull over her car for speeding. Meanwhile, he asks India why is she in a hurry. India tells Sheriff Howard that she wanted to catch his attention, and she stabs him in the neck with a pair of pruning shears. Then, India leaves the car to chase after the wounded sheriff, only to finally shoot him with her rifle. 2 words to describe this dark coming-of-age tale directed by Park Chan-wook: beautiful and disturbing. Let's just say that Stoker is not one of those films that you would want to watch with your parents or kids. At first sight, Charlie seems to be a mysterious and charming man, but let's be honest, you would have used the word creepy if he wasn't so good-looking. By the way, kudos to the director for choosing a really attractive actor to play the role of Uncle Charlie. By the end of the film, it's clear that everyone in the Stoker family is a little bit crazy. Nonetheless, who is the most disturbing character in Stoker? Although Charlie is a pretty strong contender, Evelyn is the one who actually wins the race. But why? Here's the thing. Evelyn might not have any dead bodies under her belt, but she does have a very disturbed mind. First, Evelyn detests her own daughter and desires India to suffer. Second, this woman has no morals. Her husband just died, and she already has her eyes set on another man, who happens to be her brother-in-law. Third, Evelyn doesn't care about anyone but herself. This woman chose to be jealous of her own daughter instead of protecting her from a murderer. By the way, when Evelyn called Charlie to her room, it's clear that she's not as oblivious as she appears to be. Evelyn knows about Charlie's past and the truth behind Richard's death. However, how unsettling is this information? I mean, why would she let a murderer live inside her own house. But then Evelyn confesses it's because of Charlie's attractive looks. I get it, but Evelyn is still a terrible person. India deserved a better mother. Overall, Stoker is a very interesting study on people and their inner darkest desires. As I said before, the film is creepy but in a good way, because it challenges the viewer's personal biases. Stoker is definitely a very noteworthy watch, with incredible performances. Video is over now. I hope you have a good time. Please feel free to leave a comment. Goodbye.